Welcome to Cruising Through the Curriculum. I am Cindy Cruz, and this is my first podcast. Here at Cruising Through the Curriculum, you will learn ways that technology can enhance a curriculum and provide enrichment to learning. I am a fourth grade teacher in East Tennessee who is always ready to share ideas and learn more from others. I am a firm believer that the best professional development is the teacher just down the hall. Today's episode's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about a technology that's not widely used in schools. I'm actually pretty certain it's not used in any schools as of now, but I do believe that it could be. I chose to talk about a technology that can work for school security. I'm going to be talking about why I chose this and how I think it should be implemented in schools. First, I would like to explain why I chose school security as my influence when I was searching for a new school technology. A few years ago, I was involved in an active shooter scare at my school. Thankfully, it was a scare and not a situation. My school was on lockdown for hours, and information was scarce and often dramatized, as can happen when people are frightened. This is one of the scariest experiences that I've had, and in that moment, I was coming up with strategies to save my students and preparing myself to possibly die. I believe that this should not ever happen in a place of learning and nurturing, but it happens all too often in our schools today. It is time for us to come up with a better plan. In order to choose a good school security technology, I wanted to understand why school shootings keep happening and what causes them. I did some research and I was actually surprised to find that there's not much information out there about why school shootings keep happening. It does seem that there is a very large political divide, and most of the information I was finding was more opinion-based rather than fact-based. But I did find an article that was from an interview of a Homeland Security expert named William V. Pelfrey Jr. He is an expert in the field of Homeland Security, terrorism, and radicalization. He's also a professor of Homeland Security, emergency preparedness, and criminal justice at Virginia Commonwealth University. So I felt pretty confident reading his input and learning from his perspective because he does seem fairly qualified. He does talk about some statistics. Guns are now the leading cause of death among children and adolescents in the U.S., and that is coming from the CDC. And also, no other developed economy has as many violent firearm deaths as the U.S., according to the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation. He later goes on to talk about why this keeps happening. He does say that guns are easily accessed in the U.S. There are more guns than people. The U.S. population is about 334 million, and there are more than 390 million guns in the U.S., according to a report by the Small Arms Survey, which is a Geneva-based organization. He does say that we have the highest civilian gun ownership in the world by a huge margin, so guns are just very easily accessed. Professor Pelfrey goes on to talk about how another element is that school safety and security is just not as high as it should be. He says that it should be easy to maintain basic school safety, but not everyone does a good job of that. He goes on to talk about the school shooting in Uvalde in Texas and about how a door was left open and that shooter was able to gain access to the school. That is another point that I have also thought about. it is a lot of pressure being a teacher, but also feeling like you're a security guard or, a police officer as well, because you're in charge of the basic security of the school. Your job isn't just to teach, it's all of these other things put on us. Another point that this professor brings up is the role of social media and social interactions in school shootings. And he brings up the different school shootings and different examples. He talks about the Buffalo shooting, the Buffalo, New York school shooting, and how it was done by a self-radicalized domestic terrorist, and he strongly held a belief about the infringement of races on the Caucasian race. He was an avid follower of some extremist information online, and the expert says that he became radicalized because of that, and it made him commit the violent act of the school shooting. But he does say that's not true of every school shooter. It's not always politically based. In Columbine, Newtown, and Uvalde, these were bullied misfits. He calls them misfits. They didn't fit in, and they had a history of being marginalized by their peers. They found a way to get even, in a sense, and they chose violence for that. So I do think, especially now that, of course, Columbine was before social media really took off, but I do believe that social media does play a big part in this. People have so much access to things that can look like fact, but they're not. And sometimes it's hard for people to determine what is, everybody uses the term fake news, but it's true. What is fake news and what is not? So I definitely agree with the expert on that point. Now that I know some reasons that school shootings keep happening, I wanted to look up some ways to improve school security from an expert's point of view. So I found the Vigilant Tiger Security Group, and they are based out of Colorado, and they actually wrote an article on how to improve your school security. Mainly, they talk about make sure all of the doors are locked, make sure all of the access points, so like outside doorways, windows, things like that, are secured at all times. There are designated drop-off doors. There are designated pickup doors. Basically, nobody's getting in and out doors that they shouldn't be. They also talk about how you need direct communication with all of your staff at all times, especially in an emergency situation. Admin, teachers, security personnel, and other staff need to have a way to stay connected, whether that's the intercom in an emergency, maybe like a tornado or other drills, or sorry, other natural disasters. And you also need something that's not an intercom in cases of school shootings, because you don't want to be giving, obviously, the shooter information. And they also talk about just making sure you manage visitor access, don't let anyone in who's not supposed to be there, and monitor the school's interior at all times with surveillance cameras. They also say that every school needs to have a security guard. My school has a school resource officer, and I'm very thankful for that, but not every school does. And that does play a big part in school safety. Finally, I'm going to introduce you to this technology that I found. The technology that I found is called OpenPath, and it's actually by Motorola. And it is a security technology. I do think some things would need to be changed for it to be implemented in schools, but I do like some of the things that it offers. Um, they offer keyless door entry access through your mobile device. Everything is basically a mobile first management system. A lot of the security is based off of your phone. You can unlock and lock um, doorways. I do like this because I feel like our doors are not as secure as they should be. I have a wooden door that has a very large window right beside of my door handle. So if somebody, even if my door is locked, if somebody busts that window, they can access my doorway. They can unlock my door. They can open my door. So I do like how this would make the door more secure and less access for them to get in. It also includes, they call it smart building system. So it's real-time video surveillance that you can put in. Most people use this technology in a business building, but in a school that would be like real-time video surveillance in each teacher's classroom, access logs so you could see exactly which adult used their phone to come in or go out. Um, I do feel like some teachers would not like that very much also, because as teachers, we do feel micromanaged often anyway. Um, and it would kind of be like Big Brother spying on you, or, your boss spying on you at all times. At any time, they could access what exactly is going on in your classroom. So I can see that being an issue. And if you have a substitute, how would that work with them getting in? So I do think it would need to be modified. Maybe there's a school mobile device that you can use. Um, I'm not sure. I feel like it could work, but there are some things that need to be changed. You can also turn the lights on and off. You can notify first responders as well. Um, so if something happens in the office and they're not able to contact, or if they're not even aware, if somebody came in a different doorway and they're not even aware, you can notify the correct security personnel through this open path technology. Another cool feature of this technology is that you can merge all of their different security systems that they offer. They call it security convergence powered by AI. So, this interconnectivity of the different security threats across every component of their security systems. Um, they also talk about how larger organizations need to establish a multi-factored security strategy to be consistent in their in successful security. One feature of this technology that I am a little iffy about, and I definitely think would need to be modified before it could be put into schools, is that you have remote access to everything everywhere. I feel like that could get a little messy. You wouldn't want your assistants and just anyone who works in the school building, cafeteria workers, etc., to have access to every classroom, every office, everything, and even be able to access the cameras. That is something that makes me a little iffy on it. That would definitely have to be changed. I do think there would need to be just a few key people, like administrators, who would have that access, and the school nurse, the SRO. But I do not think that everyone should have remote access to everything in the entire building. All in all, I do believe that the Open Path technology system by Motorola would be a good technology to implement in school security. Um, I do think there are some things that would need to be worked out to bring it kind of from the corporate world to the school world. How would that look at dismissal and drop off time? Would it would we be able to just have teachers at that door who have the security mobile device? That's another thing that would need to be thought about. But I do like that you can make sure all doors are locked at all times, and only uh, the allowed people are in the building at all times, and you have much more surveillance than we do with our traditional systems. And like I said earlier, our traditional systems just are not working. We need to try something else. Um, I do believe something like OpenPath, whether it's OpenPath or something else, could be made to work better for our schools. But thanks for listening, guys. Let me know if you have any opinions or any other ideas. I think as teachers, we are all very passionate about school security just because it's something that is so scary and could happen to any of us at any time. But thanks for listening, guys. This is Cindy Cruz, and thanks for listening to this episode of Cruising Through the Curriculum.